Okay. Good evening, friends. On behalf of the LSC Alumni Group in Kolkata, I welcome all of you to today's event. I'm indeed delighted to see my friends from our LSC Alumni Network in India, various parts of India and abroad. My colleagues from the Chamber of Commerce, I can see Shukana from the Bengal Chamber of Commerce, INTAC, Indo-British Scholars Association. I think President Mr. Rajiv Kaul is joining us from London. And of course, the Director of British Council, Debanjan and Devnita and the full team. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Our keynote speaker, Amitabh Bhattacharjee, and his wife, Ananya, really need no introduction in Kolkata. Amitabh completed his engineering degree from IIT Kharagpur and was awarded the prestigious Shivning Gurukul Scholarship to the London School of Economics in 2008. He is a very active member of our LSC alumni group in Kolkata. Amitabh is a social entrepreneur with over 32 years of global experience and formed banglanatok.com in the year 2000, specializing in culture and development. His flagship initiative, Art for Life, is indeed a unique model on culture and development, and we will be hearing more about this in his talk later. He promotes sustainable tourism, and for all his activities using intangible cultural heritage, he has got global recognition from UNESCO, UNWTO, UN ECOSOC. Amitabh's passion is innovation, social entrepreneurship, grassroots economy, and of course, to work towards global peace using music and cultural tourism. Friends, before I hand over to Amitabh, I would request all of you to kindly mute yourselves. The total duration of this program is 1 hour. After Amitabh speaks, we will have an opportunity to also interact with him. Over to you, Amitabh.
Thank you, Nayantara. Thank you, the esteemed listeners. I thank you all that you all took time off of your busy and difficult time indeed. So within this time, all the cities everywhere, we are facing real challenges. So thank you from bottom of my heart. I really mean it. Nayantara gave a wonderful introduction, kind words. I don't know whether I do good job. I mean, I'm in a good thing. I consider myself a very selfish fellow because for me, the self-pleasure is the most important thing. And after 10 years of software, I was not getting that pleasure. I was very happy when I joined software, but when I was thinking that, it's not really something that is attractive anymore, I left it, returned back, and started banglanatok.com. In 21 years, what we did, I never considered that I'm doing a great job for people. No, it's rather I'm trying to do my job very well. I think that's a very important part of entrepreneurship, especially social entrepreneurship in India. It's not that easy. It's difficult. But long time back, 1993 or 94, in a conference, Purnendu Chatterjee said once in New York that if there is a problem in the society, that should not be, that can be criticized by everybody, but at the same time, that's an opportunity for an entrepreneur. Then later on, when I understood entrepreneurship, I understood the difference between an enterprise and a social enterprise is very simple. Enterprise keeps the profit, shares it amongst its shareholders, but social enterprise shares it with the community. So 21 years, never taken a single loan. We don't have a loan now. Never taken the profit from the organization, invested on the community. While walking the path, realized that traditional art and culture is an untapped possibility of a gold mine in India, in rural India especially. And thus, as entrepreneur looks for the niche, I also opted for it. And when we saw that, because economics has three pillars: labor, money, and land. Now, why a place is marginalized? What causes poverty? If these things come to your mind, then you definitely have your way of looking. I had my way of looking. So in my mind, I saw that, in India, when I started banglanatak.com, I roamed around India's rural marginalized places. And what we saw is that the villages where they have agriculture or industry, they are not poor at all. Villages where you don't have anything, they are not only poor, rather every day the poverty is taking them to further marginalization, and finally they lose their confidence. So I started staying with them, tried to find out that, what motivates them and what is their, we did a work study. Being an IIT guy, know that, work study is very important. And what I found out is that is a traditional art and culture, which is basically their skill, but they ignore it because urban educated population had, I will not say have, had an orientation of ignoring it. And thus I saw that, there is an opportunity and just jumped on it. So started staying with them, started working on it, and the journey continues, success succeeds. But the pillar, what is the pillar of that model? Build capacity, link them directly to the market, and thirdly, do a lot of exchange collaboration to bring the pride back. So after 21 years, I understood livelihood is not only economic gains. It is economic gain plus pride. That's a very, very important factor. Pride and recognition. And that's how we never taught a Patachitra artist how to paint Patachitra. Not at all. It's their traditional skill. But what we taught them is basically how to safeguard their art form through them. We didn't do anything. They. So how to develop a village leadership, how to bring back the traditions, how to monetize it, how to negotiate, how to go out and how to present it, how to diversify, because a 30 feet scroll, nobody needs to buy these days because walls are 12 feet, 14 feet. So how to address another market, because we feel that, there are two ways of marketing. One is whatever world needs, produce that. Another is whatever you produce, look for their market. So I'm a believer of the second one, that, whatever the artists are making, how can we find a new market for them? And also while doing that, we wanted to find out what is actually their skill, the tradition. Because they were painting only on scroll doesn't mean the scroll is the tradition. It is rather the traditional knowledge is how to take the village, the vegetables, and make colors out of it. That's the skill me and you, we don't have. We may be engineers, this, that, but we don't know how to extract colors and paint from that. We don't know. So that's the skill. Then, like this, we proceeded, succeeds, as I mentioned. And after a few years, we did an evaluation, find out where is the gap. Economy is a big thing. And only this is a small part of the microeconomy. Because what we found out is that through our work, 30,000 people, their families are benefited directly. People who used to earn 500, 600 a month are earning anything between, I'm not talking about the post-corona data, but 2019, I will come to the post-corona data later. 2019, it was about anything between 7,500 to 85,000 per month. So happy that, somebody also bought a car. Everybody's houses are pakka houses now. People do have sanitation and people do send their children to school. Now, this is another realization that, when pride and recognition increases, when the socio-economic gain happens, then they start participating in development process. That time you don't need to do a campaign for sanitation. They adopt it. All of them come from illiteracy background. They were not uneducated, but they were illiterates. But now they send their children to school. The first graduate came out in Purulia, a girl, Moushumi Chaudhuri. And see, these are our successes. So 30,000 people, great, they are economic, but it is more than that. The holistic development, the orientation need to be a little more. So that's why I say that, land, people, and capital, these three. So if you see the neighboring areas of Pingla, Patachitra village, now it's costing 3 lakhs per kata. So land prices go up. The people who were termed as beggars are now considered as valued artists. Hillary Clinton came to Calcutta and met Swarno Chitrakar. I think she didn't come and meet any of us. These are very important things. There are roughly about 100 to 150 artists travel abroad every year. Not at the Bengali conference, not at all. Rather, they go to the global festivals. So art and culture is not really only a passionate thing. It is also, it's definitely passion, but it is not only an academic passion. It is rather, it has the powerful thing of developing into livelihood and safeguarding through them. Because if my things are working, of course, my children, villagers' children, they will come back and carry on the same thing. So this is the story in a nutshell. And interestingly, what we found out, that when they participate in the development process, when they feel that it's mine, they carry it forward with pride, with joy, and their villages become very prominent places. So although West Bengal tourism has, till date, has not promoted this, but you will be surprised to know 150,000 visitors have visited till 2019 in all these villages. I will come to that later on. So these are scopes, and these are scope for, the festival doesn't mean that, a ribbon cutting. Festival is much more than that. Festival is people's festival. When we talk of heritage, it's whose heritage it is. I think that's the question that we always ask in the global thing. I mean, as Nayantara mentioned, we are the Socio-Economic Council ECOSOC member. probably a couple of them also exist in Asia. We're the only global partner of UNWTO, not because we are the best of travel agent, but we don't do travel agency at all, but still we are the only partner because we develop responsible tourism. And we say that, you cannot just take local 3-4 people to serve water and say English to say, good morning, sir. It has to be around them, community must be benefited completely. And that's why they're in the nucleus of this tourism. So they manage, they run, they do everything. And so build the capacity, that's our job. So we are a catalyst. Our entire work is very socialist, I must say. So it's a completely different, quote unquote, a different perspective and alternative work. And it's not only in Bengal, it's also we are working in Western Rajasthan, where you will be shocked to hear that none of the Rajasthan art and culture is so well known. Rajasthan music is so well known. But when I first visited the desert, I came to know that none of the artists, not even the Padma Shris, have any rights on their own music because whoever has recorded, whoever has sold, has forgotten to give them a copy and has forgotten to understand what is heritage and rights. Why? Because unpar hai. Now, these are our treatments. If educated people's treatment to the uneducated mass is this, then I wish let education not be there. And so this sort of things, when I go to Goa, can you believe sitting in 2021 in April, we still have untouchability in Goa. So when I go to Goa, I don't go to the beach. It is rather, there is no crime to go to the beach. But the point is responsible tourism. The responsibility is big. So, and it need not be only tourism when we talk about responsible, because responsible tourism basic concept is very clear. Whatever is good for community is good for tourism. As simple as that. So let's not try to make some glossy affair and thinking global tourists love it. Trust me, no. You are attracting a poor section of tourism. I think that's the most important. I'm happy that, the Indian tourism, West Bengal tourism, I mean, everybody started realizing that. Even the DG of India Tourism had to comment. She visited our Goa office. We have an office in Goa and Rajasthan too. My headquarters is Kolkata. And she mentioned, and she actually went to press and said that Goa is unfortunately taking a Thailand model. These are worrying. Why? Because the local stakeholders are not involved. The communities are not benefited out of this tourism. And these are very, very essential elements. And economy, when we say culture and economy, these parts need to be kept in mind, that the local community's development is essence. And we have seen whatever investment has been made by government of West Bengal, government of Rajasthan, UN, everybody together, EU, the first funding that came to us is neither from the government or EU, nothing from this. The first funding came to us is actually from EU, European Union, Brussels. I didn't know where the Brussels office is or where the EU Delhi office is. There was a call called Invest in People. And we said, blah, 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 we want to do this, and we got it. And since then, the journey really got the momentum. And then UNESCO gave us the national partnership, international advisory. Actually, international advisory came first. So we are the international advisor to their ICH committee. And we represent many of the global South issues. UNESCO is basically driven by 2003 convention, 2005 convention, that is one is on ICH, one is on cultural industry, and 1972 World Heritage. It's driven by only 3 conventions. We are not at all into the 1972, but it's 2003 and 2005. 2003, we are the international advisor to them. So we go to different countries also, and many countries are facing. So please don't think it's an Indian issue. It's many of the problems. I mean, everywhere. Romania and Hungary, they fought so many times for that place, and the Roma community's place, and their culture is another fantastic culture. It's the same thing. So nobody is understanding the value of this culture. They think, oh, it should be preserved because of a great dance. Not at all. It can actually employ, it can create the village, I'll say recognition, it can create tourism, it can maintain beautiful tourism, it can hold a fantastic story. So these are essential elements of this. And before I go to the, I speak on that, I will request my colleague Shohom, who is there, just to share a small video. I think all of you will enjoy this on Art for Life. We call it Art for Life. So Shohom, if you are, yes, that will be so nice.
High potential rural artist communities have not developed the business tools to engage markets, resulting in slow death of their unique art forms. Banglanatak.com's Art for Life program, proven in West Bengal, transforms artist communities into thriving micro-enterprises, impacting artist, art form, and district.
9 years after inception of Art for Life, in 2013, the Department of MSME, Government of West Bengal, adopted Art for Life and partnered with UNESCO to develop 10 rural craft hubs benefiting 3,000 rural traditional handicraft artists across 10 districts of West Bengal. The success of the project led to expansion of the initiative to rural craft and cultural hubs involving an additional 12,000 beneficiaries across 15 districts of West Bengal.
26 art form transformations have had 100% success, doubling artists, primarily impacting and empowering women, increasing income 2.5 times, and reducing migrations. Low-income art forms shrunk from 38% to 15%, while high-income grew from nothing to 26%. More than 90% of artists now have a bank account. More than half have a new or renovated house. 77% of these with sanitation and 100% electrified. Almost every artist is formally trained on the art form. 30% are digitally aware, and 38% of the next generation are now proud of and involved in the art form. The village is now a hub for international workshops and collaborations, and 6 art forms have geographical indication status. Tourism is now an integral part of the program.
Now, this is very important. This is the thing that I was mentioning. See, 2005, it was zero because all these villages were completely marginalized villages. Look at the figure in 2019. Now, if this is possible, that means, interestingly, all the villages have nearby restaurants now. So many guest houses have come up. The villagers have negotiated with the panchayats. Even panchayats have come forward for a better roads, better connectivity. Now, overall, this is a real holistic development. If you go for, the basic thing that, so this has actually worked like the water source in that area. And that's why the development is happening around that and where artists are at the nucleus of it. So, the artists are growing, the village is growing, the nearby villagers are benefited. So the neighborhood, we have seen around 15 kilometers radius is actually benefited. Now, what happened after 2019? Is it entire thing is stopped? Not at all. Corona actually started, our last year, 24th of November, to March, midnight, Prime Minister announced the lockdown countrywide. The ration reached in Bengal between 28th of March to 7th of April. Parallelly in Rajasthan, the ration reached by 28th of April because I work in these two places primarily. And interestingly, after August, the situation started doing much better because in the first wave, I must mention this, that first wave, it was more uncertainty due to lockdown rather than the corona impact in rural India. Rural India was not much impacted at all in this. Whereas this particular thing, here. And that time what we saw is the main challenge is the uncertainty. Now, how to address that uncertainty? We found out engagement. Because till March, because March is as such not a tourist season after March. After Holi, entire thing is gets down to zero. Because till March is there. So even last year also they did good business. But more than financial thing, it happened uncertainty, the fear of uncertainty. So from August onwards, we pushing the engagement. June onwards, I started moving from May 7th. And when we saw that this happening in the month of November, India Tourism, Incredible India, weekend getaways we started. And then followed by British Council did a Ripples Festival in one particular area, Bolpur and nearby places. Now, all this combining together between November and February, this I must mention, November I did a study in Bengal that 62% occupancy in the rural properties, but nobody is coming to these villages. 62% is very high at that time when city was going to 5-7%. Now, why 62%? Because people were going for isolations. So isolated place. Now, how to convert that 62% utilized for the rural artist? That's why we did that campaign. Interestingly, what we found out, again on 1st March 2021, that between November and February, 93,000 people visited these villages. 1.13 crores of handicrafts were sold by these rural artists directly to the their customers. Now, that's why, again, financially and engagement-wise, the thing that we planted, it worked. That means nothing broke down. When we talk of resilience, see, these are very important factors of resilience. But as Corona first time hit, naturally, even all of us got what's happening. And then, but this time, now, since 1st of March, I mean, the entire thing had to be closed down almost because real Corona, I mean, the second wave is real, and even it is reaching the villages. So this time the threat is different. First time the threat is different. So I thought I must mention that it's not that after 2019 there was no. The difference is after 2000, till 2019, there were a lot of international people. This was more of domestic tourists, and that's perfectly fine. But it was more business as far as the rural artists were concerned. Shoham, please. I'm representing, but that doesn't mean I'm me alone. It's a full team. Like every dreamer, I also have a dream that we'll be reaching to more. We should cross
West
1
Bengal
lakh
will
artists.
cross 1 lakh artists. Goa will establish a responsible tourism model. Rajasthan will expand tourism through rural hubs.
Thank you, Shoham. So this is more or less the economic impact and overall Art for Life. And I'm happy to stop here. And I request any question, please feel free and ask, and I will try my level best to answer.
Thank you, Amitabh. And we have friends from British Council, Bengal Chamber of Commerce, IPSA, our own LSE membership. So please feel free to interact. Shalini, our young member from LSE Alumni Group. Yes, quick question here.
It was actually very, it was a beautiful program, but thanks for inviting me. But I have a question that how did you all market, or how do you market the products by your artisans during the pandemic? We all know it's a tough time. But,
It's a very good question. Yes, it was a tough time, but you have to understand that when we build our capacity, we also build the artist capacity in the digital field. So we link them with the e-commerce companies. We link them also with the retails, different retails, because from August, actually, the movement started and unlocking started majorly. Unlocking probably started a little before, but I'm talking about unlock 3. And 3 onwards, the movements were a little easier. And e-commerce companies, but there was a challenge also, because most of the e-commerce companies or many of the people, they still believe in the consignment mode, that you give it to me, I give it to my customer. If my customer accepts, then I pay you. That theory will not work. So we always negotiate that nothing doing. If a material goes out of a village or of an artist's hand, it is considered sold. So whoever is ready to accept that clause are welcome. So 3 companies came forward: Gokup, Itokri, and Artisan Soul. And and all 3 did very good business, because you are getting directly from the artists. So you are getting a much better price. So you have to pay them. You cannot say that, when my client gives me money, I'm not accepting any consignment mode. So that way, the digital connections help big time. And second, by the way, we have set up Wi-Fi everywhere, because Government of West Bengal and UNESCO have set up Rural Craft Hub in all the places. And when it's not only handicraft, but also so 2013, I started Bangla Natak in 2000. 2000 to 2013, there was no investment from government side. 2013, West Bengal government is the first government to come forward and adopt AFL. And so definitely that has helped MSME department. And so that's basically the E mode. And then onwards, all the connections that is made, because we always promote the direct linkage. International market could not be opened up, but national market were completely open.
That's good. Debanjan has a comment. Debanjan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Amjavo, thank you. An inspirational talk as always. I have 2 questions. One is slightly kind of strategic in nature, which is around, why do you think governments are slightly hesitant about walking the creative economy, social entrepreneurship path, and support these initiatives and be force multipliers? I mean, and work with organizations like yourself across India. So I think, what is your experience of having worked in this space? Because I know that your experience is quite patchy. I mean, you have some governments are more amenable to this approach, others are not. The second question I have is slightly more British Council orientated, which is, what do you think is and again linked to the previous question, what do you think is the role of English language, if any, in terms of the artist's ability to tap international markets?
Thank you, Devanjan. Let me answer the second question first. Well, again, as I mentioned to Shalini, that capacity building on digital, similarly, capacity building on English is also another element that we have. Especially, the fun is when people go out first out of their village, when they go out to any place, let's say Goa, if somebody comes, first time they used to try in Bengali, and then they understand it's not working. Then they try a little bit of Hindi. Then also they see it's not working. And that time is the confusion starts. And that time is a very funny to see that, how they react. Many a times, see, we also learned, and because we worked with them, we stayed with them, and how do they? Many a times, seeing an international person, they speak in Hindi. Because it's not my language, so it can be a language probably the other person knows. So, I mean, these I'm talking about all 5, 6, 7 years, 7, 8 years back. Now everybody knows a little bit of English because people go to all the places. They can at least say good morning, thank you, calculate this, that, they can handle it. But at the same time, to reply, the role of English language is very important. We don't need, because you have to also understand the difficulty here is people where the first lot that we started working are illiterates. So teaching English to illiterates. Here, I must mention, more than us, we actually took help of a lady. She used to run an NGO specializing in that. and they were excellent. So they sent their team and trained our people. And now we continue that, but we always look for such good people who can really do this job. Coming to your first question, see here, it's a difficult question, I must mention, because it's again a priority issue. That firstly, you have to believe in it, that your artists are not your liabilities. Firstly, you have to realize that they are artists. They are not communities, can be treated as junk. So firstly, you have to value the human being. Then understand that, their culture can be a very positive thing in their development. They are artists. Because many a times we forget that they are artists. We think they are okay and chalta hai. No, they are more than chalta hai. That is their asset. So asset and liability need to be understood. And thirdly, is that when you understand that, so whichever government, now West Bengal is a big state where you have lots of artists. And here an organization like us has started working for a long time before the government. So this is another important. Please don't, I think the entrepreneurs, the social entrepreneurs must not think from the day one, somebody will, government will come forward. For a government, it's difficult. Rather, as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur, you should do something, prove a little bit of progress, and then go to the government to get. Orissa, I will say, a gold mine have not come forward. I went number of times, but I think their theory of their understanding of their culture is quite weak. I have no, relating to economy. They may be very proud of their culture, temple, this, that, but the value of that in terms of economy, in terms of socio-economy, in terms of people's development, I think that part is missing. Also, I must mention, Government of West Bengal is the only government which has actually Lok Prasar Prakalpa called LPP, which gives artists 1,000 rupees per month as a stipend. That nobody has. I think Kerala might have also have. And in the lockdown period, that helped big time. So, treating your artists like an asset, supporting them, that's a big important thing.
Very, very.
And one more point here, I will say, like Goa till date, 2009 till date, Government of Goa has not come forward with a single support. Not a single support. Now, but we are fighting. We are still trying. So, so whatever money is being spent, including a big office, cultural space, free, is that the zero support from the government. So we should not only think it's government, it's rather we should try our own. And it's a journey, it's a new model and it will take time. So I'm not at all, I don't blame anyone. It's a matter of time. I'm very happy that after Bengal, Rajasthan took it up. And Rajasthan government took it up. And I'm sure once Rajasthan thing is done, then probably seeing Rajasthan, some of the tourism players, Hindi speaking belt, that's another thing. It's a Bengali speaking, that's a Hindi speaking. And Madhya Pradesh, Orissa are my target, Chhattisgarh, Punjab. Punjab is another asset. They are losing their culture very, very fast. Punjab is a big asset of culture.
Yeah. Amitabh, we have lots of questions coming in. Kanvir is there from Bangalore, the head of Bangalore chapter. Okay. Kanvir? Yeah.
Hi. No, I had two questions. Actually, one is related to my work, which I run a media and a PR company. So I wanted to generally inquire whether, how do you manage, do you have a structured program to get your voice out, and do you have a structured media and a PR program? And the second question is, I always wonder, because you are so close to the rural area, to the villages, what is the impact of, there is on one hand, I always feel programs like Manrega have actually, at least in Rajasthan, which I have been close with, they have killed the art and culture over there, because nobody wants to, work as a sculptor or a painter for years together when they can just, get a stipend of 6,000, 7,000 rupees for digging some thing. So what is the impact of, what do you think about this Manrega and all these? I think, is a negative thing or positive, or that these are my two questions.
Uh, I will not say Manrega was bad, not at all. I will say that, let things like Manrega go, because these are supporting the rural mass, the poor, and it should be investment in people also. But probably it will be better if we can link it with the work other than only digging thing. That's my take. The second part, I will say Bengal has started giving 1,000. Started means not yesterday, for a long time, 2014 onwards. I think that's something is very important. And 4 programs in a month. That's like Manrega for artists. So that should be adopted by all the places. Secondly, the first question, media has been a fantastic support for us, because again here, like 2004, there used to be about 2 to 4 in a year clippings about folk forms. Now, till 2019, there used to be around 2,200 per month. So huge. And so these are really fantastic support. That this is something that good in India, rural India, that if you really do good job, people are there to support. And as I don't accept money, so I'm very happy that, these things come, and media support is always very, very important. And we always say, you don't need to highlight us, please do highlight the artists. And that they really love it, because our artists are stars. And that's what our objective was.
So our next question is from Shondeep Ghosh, Indian Tea Association. And then Shukarna, Bengal Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Bhattacharya. Very nice to hear from you. It's been very inspiring. I take you back to Assam. We have been working, apart from the industry issues, we are working very closely with the communities there for the last 22 years. And we have got the UNICEF programs with us. Presently, we've got about 30,000 odd adolescent girls and boys who are into various levels of improving their lifestyles, their livelihoods, etc. I welcome you to Assam. B, I also welcome you from the Indian Tea Association to work in Bengal. And the Bengal tea communities have got immense talent. And so is Assam, the art forms, as well as their other cultural activities, we are all aware. So these are the two things, and we would be extremely happy if you work with us and take the ITA initiative forward to work with communities.
Thank you, Shondeep. Shukarna?
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Amitabh, thank you for the wonderful presentation. We understood how cultural tourism stimulates inclusive growth in rural India. My question is to you, what do you think how important the role of exposure, promotion, awareness is required to facilitate the rural tourism, and how a Chamber of Commerce can be part in this journey?
Firstly, the members of Chamber of Commerce, whoever wants to promote, my request is please do visit the villages first. When Incredible India was promoting these villages, I was invited by India Tourism to speak to all the operators. And I gave 2 lectures in 2 different times. Time means the 2 different, because somebody said 2 days, somebody said 3 days later. I said I will do both. 35 to 40 people attended each. Only 10% people knew about rural part, because current tourism, unfortunately, is mostly they believe it's more of hotel and car, whereas the definition of tourism is tourism. It's not hotel and car, that's hospitality. Nobody comes from Bombay to Kolkata to see a hotel. If they see something for them to stay, they need a hotel. So that's a very essential part. So these are very important elements that we need to understand, that tourism for what? Because Worldwide, 1.38 billion people travel from X to Y. Forget the COVID period. And out of which 38% travel for seeing culture. And when we talk of culture, it's not that you organize in Kolkata, let the guests come and just you do a show experience. No, you don't call it experience, it's observing. Experience means you take them to a chow village, let them work with the chow, see them, how people live, and then let them also plan a chow trip for them. So these are experiences. So I think we are trying to do a lot of shortcuts, which is not working. So that's why, and with people like, see, when you have to understand tourism will go through a further difficult time, because when the e-ticketing started, the travel agents selling tickets are out of business. It's like STD booth. So when the OYO people started, hotels are out, right? So when the hotel bookings are direct, because out of this 93,000 visitors, only 2% of the people took operators' assistance. Why? Because only 2 out of these 82 operators, actually one took them to Purulia and one took them to Sundarban, but rest others did not believe in it. So first, start believing it. How you will believe? Start visiting and start understanding the difference of experience and seeing. I think that's.
Thank you, Amitabh. Harihar Bhattacharya from Bardhaman.
Yeah, I have it's very interesting presentation, and I really learned quite a lot. Teaching students for more than 3 decades, I also became a good student and learned a lot. And I realized that often when there is emphasis on outreach program of our students, they do not find any area, they do not have any awareness. I mean, we get students from Purulia, Bankura, but they don't, find any topic to do anything. I think such kind of, effort should be included in the school, colleges, curriculum, so that they already become aware. You mentioned about the government of Odisha. I think it has to do with the lack of education, lack of awareness of this thing, because that's why you people have to push it a lot. But we do not have any awareness of this thing. So education, it should be pushed through also education. Thank you.
Good suggestion. Yes, we have questions from our alumni group members, Shaptashi Kaur, Shunandini Pandey, and we have a lot of questions for you in the chat box, Amitabh.
I've seen that. I've seen. I will answer, but yeah.
Yeah. Shunandini, Shaptashi, quick questions.
Hi, just wanted to say this is a wonderful discussion and a very inspiring talk. My question was more about where do you see, social entrepreneurship, the way you've been in this for more than 3 decades. Where do you see this headed in the future? And do you think it's a more optimistic scenario today? And what could be challenges, or what could individuals do to support this? Thank you.
Social entrepreneurship is the way forward of India. It is the only way forward, because it brings the value, it solves the problem. And because even today, if you look at it, the pandemic, there is a dearth of many things. And here there is an opportunity for social entrepreneurs in the health sectors and the related sectors to come in. And, not in 2 days' time, but that's where need to be planned. And the supporting social entrepreneurs, I think that's a very important point. There should be some funding support for the social entrepreneurship. Surprising Bengal election going on, none of the single political party mentioned entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship in their agenda. I'm always surprised at these sort of things, but we are talking about so many things. But actually, that's the arena. Whereas West Bengal government has actually done a lot of good work in MSME and My MSME, but they forgot to put that in the political agenda. So it's always interesting. I love them. And so, yes, I agree to you. It's more than individual. Individuals can always come in, but it's social entrepreneurship, individual have to come in, because unless entrepreneurs come up, how it is. But entrepreneurship is not, I mean, as Bill Gates said that, to the kids that please don't expect in one day to become the vice president. Entrepreneurship also did not be think that, it's not, there are some terms these days. When I was in Silicon Valley, I never heard these terms. Serial entrepreneurs means a person starting every 2-3 years selling the company and going. Come on. That's a big issue. Please forget those stuff. Whatever you believe, whatever you're passionate about, start doing it. And post-COVID, even I myself, we have already have an initiative of strengthening social entrepreneurship, encouraging social entrepreneurs, both in Kolkata, Goa, we have done it. But post-COVID, even we are going to push a lot of social entrepreneurship in the ground around this, because to tap the export market, we need social entrepreneurs to come forward who will do business in a transparent way, and rather than the Lal's red saluka that that Muri, the old days. So
right, Amitabh. Saptarshi?
Thank you.
Hi, Amitabh. It was a very inspirational speech that you have given, and the presentation was very interesting. My question is, how social media is helping you in reaching out to the foreign tourists and in promoting Bengal cultural heritage? Thank you.
Since 7 years, we go to ITB Berlin, and that's actually the main place of promoting the tourism. Social media is there for us for the survival. We do a big festival called Surj Jahan. Never give a single advertisement. 10,000 people come here every day, only based off social media. 2011, when I started the festival, the first story came out in German radio that how social media can promote one festival and making it 10,000. A Dubai-based newspaper, I forgot what their name was, but they said it's a people's festival. So, social media can play a very good role, and they do play a very good role. And we are very, very active in both Facebook as well as other pages. So yes, it can create, because advertisement is free. Social entrepreneurship needs that. And free means now these days Facebook charges very little. But to reach out to the people, it's a very important, because we don't have money to give advertisement in the newspapers, and it's too costly and it's useless now. So
yeah, thank you, Amitabh. I think Preeti is there from Orissa, our Orissa alumni. Preeti, you posted.
The question I had in mind, Amitabh, was to understand what was the community's response, because I've been a development practitioner for like a decade now, and I understand when you go to communities with your ideas, there's often a resistance or acceptance. So what I'm curious to understand is, what sort of resistance did it come from the community when you just started going and speaking about all your efforts out there?
No, as I said, when I started, I actually picked up 3,200 people, and I did not start with 30,000 people. I started 3,200, but which is a lot. 5 districts, 6 districts in West Bengal, and I started staying with them. I tried to understand. One thing, they were assured that I'm not going to take anything from them. So when you stay with them, rather than staying in a hotel, taking a car, just going there for 3 hours. No, I started staying with them. I know there is no sanitation. I know there is no electricity. I know that children don't go to school. I know it's extremely dirty. But when we start staying with them, and when we try to solve things together, when we see their life from their eyes, like the last lockdown period, a substantial time I was in Rajasthan desert, stayed with the artist communities in the desert. And that's how I could tell the Russian reached 28th April. I'm not quoting it from the newspapers. So, so these are very important things. And when you develop a model, when you start, okay, fine, it's working, then words spread. Communities talk to each other. And then it is easy. Then we let the other communities visit Pingla or Godbhanga, the Fakir's village, or the Chau, and then let them interact. And this is how it has been done. In case of a new state, there are 2 barriers. One is firstly that, anywhere, when any developing organization or any organization, when they go there, first is how to build the trust. And that's not only through culture, but here at least it's an untapped. Rather, culture brings them pride. So when you listen to them, when you stay with them, when you ask for their story, when you record them, when you again show it to them. See, as I mentioned that, in case of Rajasthan, that, it's a question of rights. Musical rights should belong to them. So we made a short film. We made 22 short films. And we actually went to each village to show all the films. So you have to also go back, give it that respect. Another very important thing is when you go to community, when you come to, let's say, even if you come to my office, you will call me and take an appointment. But when you go to a community, you don't take appointment. That's another big thing. You don't think that, you think, they are waiting for me. That is another issue that, I'm not saying you do, I'm saying, but this is where the urban orientation must be left out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crux of developing trust. And you have to be really honest. People do understand honesty. People do have respect for honesty, sincerity, and you don't need to commit X number of things. Let the journey result ABC.
Great. I think Shomit Datta, our senior alumni member, would like to ask a question. Shomit Datta? If not, if you could look at the chat box.
Yes, there is Tej. Tej, are you there?
Tej from Lao. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Okay, Shomit Datta. Yes.
Yes, please. Yeah. There are two questions I wanted to raise, rather two subjects. One is that all over the world, our handicrafts and our culture, rural and folk culture, and dancing are appreciated all over the world. But when it comes to the people, I mean, the people who are producing that culture, they remain in the same spot. They never go forward. Your social entrepreneurship is promoting them. But one of the major promotions can be through what I will call cultural tourism. We are doing that hospitality tourism only. And also places of, shall we say, places of importance for archaeological reasons or whatever. But then most tourists, is my experience, I tour quite a bit, most tourists go to a country to see the way of life of the people. They don't come to see one building. They come to see how people live. What is the culture of the people? And most interesting places that I have been, say, a place like Croatia, for instance, you will see that there is enormous amount of tourism without any such icons being the target. So how do we get our tourism oriented towards knowing India, knowing India's villages and handicrafts and culture, rather than the typical promotion that we do?
Thank you, sir. It's not or. I mentioned about ITB Berlin. Only in 2015, United Nations World Tourism Organization launched Intangible Cultural Heritage, ICH-based tourism.
Mm-hmm.
And they showcased our work. Only in 2015, just about 6 years back. Now, why? Because 38% of 1.4 billion people travel to see people's life, people's culture. You are right. So tangible heritage-based tourism, let it remain. Intangible heritage-based, let it join. Natural tourism, let it be there. But wherever possible, we must ensure that it must benefit the communities. That's a very
That's right.
important
That's
part.
right.
And second important part, as you mentioned, that worldwide people know art. People also need to know artists.
Yeah.
Now, when 2008 onwards, what we are noticing, interestingly, that we are breaking this. So we are actually, wherever we are going, we are linking the artist, and that's how, because as I have lived abroad, I've studied abroad, I know I've seen, so of course, that network, I'm using it full capacity, developing professional network, OMEX, World Music. We are the only Indian organization which has stand in since 2011, then different tourism organizations. But the opportunity is huge for this artist. But again, here the education needs to be strengthened, the infrastructure needs to be strengthened. And I'm not a believer always that numbers will be big in one day. It will slowly come. And when enough numbers come, then probably these tour operators, quote, travel agents, will understand the importance of these tour operations and will also take them to the villages. And education is very important, not only amongst the rural mass or amongst Indians or globally, but it is very important amongst the tour operators. You talked about Croatia. How about Paris? In France, there is a tour called Wine Tour. But when we go for the wine tour, there is the artists live by the side of that tour, but nobody calls them. So it is not, again, I mentioned, it is not an India problem. It is a global problem. And that's where the change needs to come. But I'm sure with time, things will happen.
Yeah. Amitabh, I request you to see the chat box if there's any other question. We have
yes,
5 more minutes.
Tej has asked me, what's the business model, a bit more detail and sustainability aspects. Sir, 21 years, still alive, did not take loan, do not know Dawood Ibrahim, and have never taken donation, so it worked. So that's my answer. Both sustainability and my crowd that I work with, that beneficiary, they also sustained, because since 2019, nobody got anything, but still they're alive and kicking. COVID put them into despair. They despair to survival, survival to revival, revival to growth. Growth is far away. Many of them revived. Hopefully in another 1.5 months' time, if COVID situation stabilizes, people will be revived faster by September. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments in the chat box? There are lots of good comments, but any questions? Kanvir, you had another follow-up question? Did you? Yeah, Kanvir.
Hi, if I may, I'm sorry to take a second question, but I wanted to know, a person reaches Calcutta or Bengal. How does he know about, because I have been to, I went to Bengal and I do shows. I do show. I have many media channels, podcasts, and all that. When I reached Calcutta, I asked many people, tell me something interesting which I can interview or something like that. But no one gave me a clear picture. Like a person lands. I'm hearing this for the first time, and I've been to Kolkata at least a couple of times in my life. I wish I had known. I would have loved to. So how do you inform a person who lands at Calcutta airport or the central office, or how should a person know about all this? I'm lucky to have heard you, but there are millions who are coming in unaware that all this is happening.
Karnveer, firstly, if you come to Calcutta, the two central points, if you go either to the West Bengal government's tourism office or let's say India Tourism Office, central government's office, both would have directed you to the villages, number one. Number two, recently, because of the election for a completely different reason, so many journalists came from different parts, including a lady journalist called Vasanti something, Hari Prakash from Bangalore, ex-NDTV. And she has something called Pickle Jar. Now, I didn't know her.
Vasanti, she's a friend of mine.
Oh,
Vasanti.
excellent. So now we didn't know anything about her. Now she suddenly a friend of mine, tagged me when she was doing a Facebook live in Kuch Bihar, and that was a Bhavaiya singer. So seeing Tumpa, her name is Tumpa, seeing Tumpa, I said, tell your friend to ask whether she knows us. And then she asked Tumpa, and then Tumpa, and the story continued. Vasanti came to Calcutta, met me, blah, blah, blah. But the point is that, you know, if you ask your friends who are in Calcutta or who knows about Calcutta or this, you will get to know. See, word of mouth we have to start, and also organization-wise, India Tourism Office, as well as, or Google it, Bengal culture, you will find. And there are a lot of ways, because these days so many people come, and I even came to know from one Gorbhanga Fakir's village that 3 of the journalists from Delhi landed up there. And these people didn't know what's this. They said, no, we are here for election campaign, but after that we came to know there is a Fakir's village. We are here to listen to Fakir's. Wow, you know, that's the way it should go. So that is precisely the idea. You don't need to contact us. We can only direct you. We are the facilitator. But stay there, and the thing that we have made is very simple. When you go to Fakir's village or anyone, pay 1,200 rupees for stay and food, pay to the artist. Period. Buck stops there, you stay there, enjoy your thing, and they are happy, you are happy, and you stay there as long as you want. And if you do video recording, this, that, there is no fee, but at least pay them a token thing that, you know, so that it helps them also. Yeah. So that's it.
Your homestays are very popular.
Yeah.
Really popular. So if there's any other last question, otherwise we're running short of time. Any from the chat box?
I had a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Anuradha. And my question to you, first of all, I must compliment you for a very enlightening talk. And my ancestral village is in Ranaghat, Naudhiya. So I was particularly keen to know whether you have any initiatives in Naudhiya. And secondly is, you know, our larger family, we are very keen that the ancestral house is put to good use. So we would be very interested if you would have any project, you know, in Ranaghat or.
Very nice. Yes, firstly, Naudhiya, I don't know if you are aware, even the Bengali language that you speak came from Krishnanagar. So Naudhiya is very important in Bengal. Naudhiya is also the border of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, before independence, Naudhiya and Joshore was one district, one. And the Baul music, which is the soul of Bengal, which is UNESCO's defined World Heritage, is from Naudhiya, previously known as Joshore-Naudhiya combination. Place's name is Kushtia, where Lalan Fakir used to live. Ranaghat is very important. Ranaghat's nearby area is actually the place for puppet makers. The puppetry artists are there. There used to be another art form called Bolan. A theater group is doing wonderful production using Bolan. So Ranaghat, Naudhiya, very important, is also very close to Krishnanagar, Ghurni, where all the idols come from. So Naudhiya overall is a very, very important place. And if people like you come forward, I'm sure it will be even
Mayapur.
Mayapur, Krishnanagar, Mayapur, Navadvip, where Mayapur is another Chaitanya's entire thing. Actually, you can listen to the ISKCONs. So it is a very important place, and for rural tourism development, that can be an iconic thing also. I will request all the viewers, Amitava, AMITAVA at banglanatak.com. All A, BANGLANATAK, natak.com is my ID. Please feel free, write to me, and I'm quite quick in responding.
Well, friends, we have to come, you know, all good things have to end, and we're running short of time. Once again, on behalf of the LSE Alumni Group in Kolkata, I would like to thank my dear friend Amitavo for this wonderful presentation. I know, Amitabh, that you've continued your travel during this pandemic, which worried me a lot. So please stay safe. Many thanks to the alumni office at the LSE for assisting me in promoting this event. It is because of them that we've had our alumni members from all over the world and India joining in today. Lastly, a big thank you to all of you, my participants, for joining in today and participating in this very interesting interaction. I'm sure when the situation improves, Amitabh will organize a trip for us to one of his cultural hubs in Bengal. And till then, I wish you all of you goodbye, and all of you please stay safe. Thank you very much for joining.
Yes, I just like to step in and Amitabh. This is
Moushumi Ghosh from the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce.
Please, I have always been wanting to go. My heart is always whenever you send an invite, but such is the life we lead right now. We're just so busy getting oxygen and machinery and nitrogen and all sorts of things for the government. So life has become a bit difficult, but I always admire the fact that we have so much of rural heritage, and you know, it will be good if you can organize something hopefully in the near future. Thank you, Nayantara.
Thank you, Moushumi, for joining in. He has always been supportive.
Yes.
So thank you for joining in.
Thank you.
Okay, but goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.